How's it going, guys? This is Ryo Murata, photographer based in Tokyo. So the Olympics has finally safely ended and without any disasters. And at the same time, we have a new prime minister already. I have no expectations, and his name is Mr. Kishida-san, who's going to be taking over Mr. Suga-san, who was sort of like a substitute after the previous, prime minister. People around us do not have high expectations, same as like shooting with film. We do not have high expectations because we don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, our expectations always get shattered most of the time, same as in politics, so I digress. But Kokuritsu Kyogijyou, I previously shot this area with my Mamiya 645 with the waist view finder 6 months ago. And because the Olympics have ended, you know what that means. Yes, I am going to revisit this area. And previously, if you've seen the video, what I call the surrounding area was already filled with barricades, so no one could enter around the stadium. So this time around, that barricade basically got removed, so it would be a nice time to actually hang around that area in particular and shoot some photos along the way. And because I previously shot with a 645, I thought, why not use the exact same setting, exact same lens, exact same film stock to see if there's anything particularly interesting around this area. So yeah, not much to talk about this area in particular because I previously talked about it in my previous video. So hopefully, but in the end of the video, I would like to sort of discuss a little bit about the Mamiya 645's waist viewfinder if you guys are interested in. And yeah, so enough talking, so let's get going. Same time, same location, with the exact same camera lens combination, Mamiya 645 80mm F2.8 Sekkor lens with the Fuji 160 NS film stock. So let's get going. Kokuritsu Kyogijyou, aka the Olympic Stadium, revisited. Okay, so the part that's going to be super long, hopefully. Hopefully. So this is sort of like my personal experience shooting with the Mamiya 645 1000S series with the 80mm f2.8. Probably the majority of people have that, but probably half of you have either the prism viewfinder and half of you have the waist viewfinder. The topic I'd like to discuss in this video is that sort of like my personal experience shooting with the waist viewfinder. It's interesting since when you purchase the Mamiya 645, like this was like my second camera that came with a waist viewfinder. My first one was a Hasselblad, which broke down on me and I had to like sell it, but it was not a super new experience because I was used to using a Hasselblad. But sort of my biased opinion, I realized after using a waist viewfinder that it's hard to explain, but a waist viewfinder in my case tends to, it seems to me that it eats away your mentality and your stamina when you use it for extended period of time, and compared to the prism viewfinder. I don't know if that will make sense to some of you, but probably people who like shoot with a waist viewfinder know what I'm talking about. And yes, when I say eats away your mentality, more like it eats away your concentration, if that's the word. So this is due to the fact that how the waist viewfinder is being constructed, and it's basically when you're basically looking down at the ground glass, which has this sort of like inverted look, inverted what you call image. So basically when you shift the camera to the right, what's actually happening is the subject from the left is like coming to the image. So when you shift the camera to the area where you're trying to like shift it, you have to do the opposite in order to like compensate, kind of. I don't know if that makes sense, but it actually, that like process takes forever if you're actually new to shooting with waist viewfinder. And this is something, although it is a negative, it slows you down like 2-3 times more compared to a prism viewfinder. Probably most of you guys, like when you shoot with a prism viewfinder, whether or not if it's a 35 or a medium format, you can get your composition, you can get everything straight, you can get like everything perfect within about a minute or two. But shooting with a waist viewfinder, it actually takes 2 to 3, maybe 4 times more time you need to allocate in order to get it like perfectly fine, because in order to get, there's like so many factors that you have to like think at the exact same time. Like if that like image is perfectly within that frame, if your line's like straight, horizontal, vertical axis is all perfect if you're shooting a building, and along with that you have to check to see if the focus is in place using the magnifying glass, and those like small things actually adds up, and it kind of eats away your like mentality, your concentration in the long term. And at the same time you have to hold your camera steadily or else you're gonna like mess up that one photo. So that's like one of the things I realized shooting with the waist viewfinder. But although there are like a lot of negatives using the waist viewfinder, not everything is a negative, due to the fact that because it actually takes 2, 3, 4 times longer than the prism viewfinder, what you get out of like shooting with a waist viewfinder, and this is more like my biased opinion, but it will make you a better photographer in the long run, maybe due to the fact that because you're like focused on one subject for extended period of time, what happens is that you basically pay attention to so many details that might like screw your shot. So basically a waist viewfinder is it's like a high risk, high reward type of like, what you call, it's hard to explain, but it's a risky bet because you have so many things that could go wrong with it. But at the same time, if you can execute it perfectly fine, it will make you a better photographer. You'll take better photos along the way, I guess, maybe, hopefully. But at the same time, like I said, it's a high risk, high reward. You might mess up somewhere along the way, but because you're focused on that one specific subject for extended period of time, like for example, is a light perfectly fine? Where's the shadow casting? Where's the highlights? Where's the shadows? I repeated myself. Is the vertical axis, is the horizontal axis perfectly fine? Is there any kind of intrusion going on? Are there people in your photos? In my case, I messed up on one of the photos. I mean, I never expected someone to pop out of nowhere, but there's those small things that could happen when you shoot with a waist viewfinder, and because you're basically focused on a specific area for extended period of time, if you can do it perfectly fine, it will make you a better photographer in the long run. So that's like something I realized after shooting with a waist viewfinder. And it's interesting because like the waist viewfinder and camera combination, probably compared to any kind of like camera systems, for instance Hasselblad's Mamiya included, the waist viewfinder plus the camera body is far more lighter than the prism viewfinder with the camera body combination. And this kind of evens out because when you shoot with the prism viewfinder with the camera body, when you're like traveling around, it is a heavy camera, but because you're like shooting with in a short duration of time, you just look at something, oh that looks nice, you take the exposure and compose and take a shot within a minute. You're not like heavily using your hand to like basically hold your camera for extended period of time, while the waist viewfinder type of camera you had to hold it for extended period of time. So although the camera body and the waist viewfinder combination is a lighter setup, it actually warns you out far more than the prism viewfinder in my opinion. So that's like one of the things I realized when shooting with the waist viewfinder. So me personally, I feel it's a refreshing experience to shoot with a waist viewfinder once in a while, because it makes you want to like think about what you're trying to capture, what are you trying to like convey, and the waist viewfinder shows you a different perspective of how the world, you know, spins around us. And because we take more precious like attention towards the subject that we're shooting, I think that it will help you progress as a photographer. And obviously people have likes and dislikes, and probably the majority of people hate the waist viewfinder. When I look at the forums and stuff, lots of people say just get the prism viewfinder and it will make your life so much easier. But you guys know that if you take the what you call the hard road down the road and experience a hardship, you will evolve faster, you will progress faster, and become a better photographer along the way, hopefully. So that's actually one of the reasons why I purchased the Mamiya 645, to push myself off the cliff to see. And this shoot actually is the Kokuritsu Kyogijyou. It took me forever to shoot. Actually only shot 2 rolls of film, so that's roughly 15 exposures multiplied by 2, so that's like 30 shots. But it took me like literally like what, 3-4 hours to shoot. And if I shot the exact same location with the prism viewfinder, I would have probably been done in half the time, maybe like 1 to 2 hours or so. But yeah, the Mamiya 645 gave me a brutal mission to like shoot with a waist viewfinder, and I do not regret that like mission, because I took pretty good photos, you know, hopefully. There were some that kind of spooked the hell out of me, like the person who was like jogging around. I mean, because you're like standing there for extended period of time and you're focused so much, you don't pay that much attention to the surroundings. I mean that's a negative actually. So I mean, if you shoot with the prism viewfinder, you know what's exactly happening around you, and you just take the exposure, focus, and take the shot, and you're done, kind of. But yeah, if you shoot for extended period of time in this exact same location, you never know when someone comes running around. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave it in that area below. I'm happy to like respond. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the photos. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.